Hey folks, welcome to the garage. Today we're going to give you a look at the F-150 Lightning here in the fleet. I've got a water leak problem in my cab. The water comes in and it drips right on my gas pedal foot when it rains, and I've been trying to figure out what's going on with that. I've been not able to find definitively the source of the leak, but I believe it's in the cowl. One of the things that you might think it might be is the windshield. On modern cars that have glued-in windshields, I don't find that they really leak all that much unless it's been replaced and wasn't installed properly, or if you've got rust bubbling around the perimeter, then you might have developed a pinhole or two, and that's where your water is going to be coming. On this truck, I think it's in the cowl, and I'll show you that in a second. First, I want to talk about getting this cowl cover off, which is not a lot of fun. If you have a nice truck with a good paint job, I recommend you remove the hood. Just take some masking tape and go around your hinge locations before you unbolt it so you can put it back on pretty squarely. And I take the hood off, lay it on the cab, with the blanket on in between, and get yourself a lot of room. You can get this cowl panel out with the hood on the truck, but you got to really finagle it around. And what you're going to find is you're going to be trying to get around the hood hinges and around the wiper pivots, and you're going to have to protect the corners. And also in here is a good spot where you're likely to chip the paint. This is held on by screws. We have some down here in the corner, and there's a few across the front that you'll have to take out depending on what your truck's equipped with. They may vary slightly. Also, there are screw holes visible here in the top, very easy to get to. You're also going to have to remove the wiper jets. They have to be done from the underside to squeeze a little tab to get those loose and get those out. They can be a little fiddly. And also, obviously, the wiper arms have to come off. As for the antenna, these antennas are on with 4 screws. There's a little aluminum cover that just snaps on. You can pop that off on the end here. Take the mast off and thread that. Take these 4 screws out and you can pull this out. However, the antenna lead, there's no connection down in here. It's just a cable that runs to the inside of the truck, and you're going to find that connection, not sure on this truck, but either behind the glove box or more likely plugs right into the back of the radio. It's going to be a real pain to get that out. I've elected just to take this cowl off and spin it out of the way and kind of leave it sit here on the hood. All right, let's move on to the cowl. So when you get the cowl panel off, this is what you're going to find. You can see here there's a foam kind of gasket stuff in between the cowl and the cowl panel. Mine's all rotted. I don't think that's really a big deal because water's going to come in here anyway, obviously, through those vents. But what you're going to be looking for is down inside these larger holes, which is where the firewall piece, which is going to be in the front here, and the cowl itself, which is the piece down the bottom, come together. And you can see here that there's a joint with seam sealer, and though you might not be able to see it clearly, in mine there are some places where you can see it starting to crack and pull away from the edges, and also the seam itself is starting to split in there because that stuff is old and hard and dry and not very good. That runs across the whole top of this thing. But there's also, if I can get my light on here, try to shine this in here for you. Down in here, we're going to be looking towards the front. You can see at the very bottom of your screen there, there's a pretty big gap in that black material between the cowl and the firewall panel. That's a pretty big gap. I don't know if that actually goes into the truck interior or not, but it's worth looking at, as well as these end seams here. You can see they're a little sketchy too. So where is exactly the water coming in? Well, it's pretty much impossible to tell. I've spent a lot of time on this under the dash, running water over it, and haven't been able to find the magical spot where it's coming in. So we're just going to have to do our best and try to seal up as much of it as we can. My leak isn't very bad. It takes a pretty severe, heavy rainstorm for the water to come in, but come in it does. And when it does and you're driving, it's a real nuisance. So the right way to do it would be to chip all that old material out of the way, spread your new stuff in there, good quality 3M seam sealer made specifically for the purpose. That's the way you should do it if you're doing a proper restoration. On this truck, which is spends most of its time in the garage and is probably not going to be here much more than another year or two, we're just going to do our best to band-aid it together with some good outdoor quality caulking, get all the loose material out of the way, and then spread it in there and seal it up the best we can and hope for the best. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit if you've got a water leak in one of these cabs that's coming in on the floor someplace and you don't know what to do about it. This is most likely your culprit, unless you've had a windshield replaced or you got some rust bubbling around the perimeter. As you can see, this truck's pretty good. There's a little spot there. Oh no, that's just dirt. Never mind. This truck's actually in really good shape. It's very rust-free. So that would be my only other concern. If you got a really rusty truck, then it might be around the windshield. So something to look at. Hope that helps somebody out there. If it does, let me know in the comments. Thanks.